welcome to People Grow People. And today we're going to be focusing on the art of self-reflection. Before we get started, I just want to ask y'all, what do you do to take care of yourself? Like, what is your self-care routine and what does it involve?
As a self-care, you mean like...
When I say self-care, it's your ideal of self-care. So what do you feel like you're doing when you take care? What do you do for you to take care of yourself? That's what I mean.
What I do to take care of myself is kind of like the same thing as working on stuff. I don't have designated days. Like I'll exfoliate and stuff and make sure I'm taking care of myself physically. I work out. I try to eat right for the most part. And mentally, like I read affirmations I have on my wall. I'm constantly trying to reassure myself and like treat myself nice and say nice things to myself. So yeah,
that's good.
That's pretty much it.
Jazz, what about you?
For me, it's making sure I drink enough water. Every day I make breakfast and I make sure I sit down and eat it instead of just eating on the go. And these days it's getting sleep.
Yeah.
I haven't been working out, but like when the baby goes to sleep, if I can get a nap in there, I will. And I didn't do that at first, and that was not good.
I like that. Yeah. I was thinking that my self-care routine changes depending on what's going on inside of me. Every day when I get up, I used to be like, okay, I need to do this by this time. And then I would feel like if I didn't meet those guidelines that I wasn't taking care of myself. But now I do ultimately make sure that before I start something, whether it's homework or going to teach a class, that I actually do take time to pour in myself, whether it be going out for a walk or jogging or being in the mirror. Like I always take mirror time every day to dance, be silly, laugh at myself. And when I say laugh at myself, I guess with myself as well, like not mocking myself, but be silly, sing, listen to a couple of my songs. I do affirmations, and I also like to clear my head. So self-care doesn't have to be a routine that you do the same every day.
Yeah.
To me, self-care is giving yourself what you need at the time. And at certain times of your life, you may need different things like more rest, more water. Maybe you need to eat a little more food. Maybe you need to fast, from a physical and mental aspect. But what we're going to do today for the art of self-reflection, we're going to take care of the mental. The mental part for me has always been the most important thing because I feel that in order to make changes and to take care of yourself, you have to take care of your mental first. I often think about why I do the things that I do. So that's where I came up with the art of self-reflection, and it's in my book. It's called True Selfie, the tools you can use that I'm working on. So that's what we're going to do out of that. So the way that I created this was I use questions that provoke thought. And they're often thoughts that I've had about like why I am the way that I am, why I've made some of the decisions that I've made, and how did I become who I am today. When we go back and we touch on the past, I always tell people, like, when you reflect, and especially if you reflect on the past, it's just to see where you come from so you can know where you're going or what you need to do or see the things that you've overcome in your life. It's not a space that you stay in to dwell on, because we don't want to dwell on any of these feelings that we may have, even though they may have shaped us. So this is the art of self-reflection form here.
Yes, we have it.
It was sent to your email. If you didn't fill it out, or if you weren't able, if you didn't have time to do the form, it's okay because we're gonna go over the questions together. All right. So the first one is, who am I? Like, who are you today? How do you identify yourself? Or how do other people identify you? Because we tend to take on those roles as well. When you filled out the form, did it help you?
Yeah.
So this self-reflection process allows you to get in touch with your feelings. That way you know who you are when you're walking outside the house. So if somebody approaches you and you're in a bad mood, you know this thing, so you know not to take it out on that other person. So this is a self-check. This is a perception check. One of the first questions was, how do you identify yourself? For me, the roles that I feel that are important in my life and that I take on are definitely the role of I want to always say the big sister. I love the fact that I can talk to my family and my friends and that we can exchange information. I love passing on knowledge. I've been identified as a booty yoga instructor a whole lot. People have called me aggressive. I like to say that I'm passionate, but it was something that I struggled with for a long time because a lot of times people would ask me things, and when I would respond to them, they would be like, "Oh, why are you so aggressive?" I'm just passionate. So anything that I'm talking about or that I'm doing, it comes with a great feeling. How did y'all answer that question?
How I answered that is, I was like, well, I'm a person that has a lot of feelings and thoughts. A very passionate person. So I am a very passionate person. I'm not the most assertive when it comes to it at times, depending on who I'm around. And because of I have so many feelings and thoughts, I have to have an outlet for that. So I consider myself a creative person that has, because I have to feed that somewhere and put it into something creative.
Yes.
People call me a lot of things. People kind of put me in a box of a lot of things. I still think my family considers me an artistic person, but
you said you think of yourself as a what?
I said my family, I think they would consider me an artistic person.
Yeah.
Other people things that people have told me that kind of just internalized in a certain sense, I think would be, well, emo. People call me emo or scary or a witch or mean.
Yes. I've gotten those things. I've definitely gotten the ego part. I've always been an emotional person that feels everything. That is one thing. Somebody I've always heard from people is like, you think too much or you feel too much. But I am very introverted. I always call you introverted too as well. We process things differently. We think a whole lot. We do have a lot of and it's actually creative, and that's the reason why I was able to do this form as well. I think that's great. You did really good.
I identify as a lot of things. It's very hard for me to only identify with one or two things because I'm so many things and they change constantly. So I always quote this, I forgot who wrote this quote or who said it, but I love it. And it's, do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself. I am vast. I contain multitudes. So one day I could be like, oh, I'm this. And then I'll wake up the next day and be like, you know what, I don't think that no more. I'm something else today. I could be the total opposite. So it's very hard. Some days I was telling honesty, I like to, I want to be that mom that wakes up and bakes cupcakes. And the next day I'm like, yeah, I ain't feeling kids. I'm gonna go. I'm about to go to this yoga studio and go to brunch. And I am a mom and a wife now and a sister and a friend. Sometimes I'm a loner. Sometimes I want to be extremely social. For a little bit, then I want everybody to go home. So I think what I identify as changes as I evolve.
That's good.
Or with my mood system.
Yeah.
So,
But has anything that you identify with affected you? When you say like being a mother, I think about being a mother, the responsibility that we feel that we have to our children as far as, oh, a mom is not supposed to do these certain things. I'm supposed to present them in a certain way. Because I am a mother, meaning like moms don't twerk, you know what I'm saying? Or now it's this big thing, or moms do twerk, you know what I'm saying?
yes. Honestly, recently found out I smoked weed.
Yeah.
And it was the first time you smoked weed. And, I had been kind of portraying to her, like, oh, I just tried it.
Yeah.
And she goes, when's the first time? I was like, well, when I was 27. She goes, oh, you hid it? Why? She was shocked that I hid it from her. And I was like, I didn't want you to see me a certain way.
Yeah.
Because I judged myself on moms don't smoke weed.
But it's very important for us to be able to show them that we are multifaceted and not just one thing, because it teaches them to be themselves as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's so true.
So what about you guys?
Okay, for me, I can identify a lot with what Jasmine was saying, because like I feel like it's really hard to classify yourself into a certain thing, because it's like you really are changing all the time. Like literally, like I can be one person in the morning and be something totally different, like by the afternoon or something. And me as a person, like let's say outside looking in, like I identify myself as being like an indigenous person, and I mean that like not to be like just because that's our culture and everything, but also because it's like I feel like since I was younger, like I've been doing stuff that now I'm just now finding out that indigenous people were doing before, you know what I'm saying? But as far as like how I identify myself with the family and everything, I kind of feel like the middle child. Like that's how I feel like. So I kind of feel like I have to like pop out to be like noticed for anything. No, but it's not nothing bad because it makes me.
It's not. It's not nothing that you're saying is bad. These are when I speak about identity and how you carry yourself. Yes, we are ever changing. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm thinking about, or even on a deeper level, is what are the things that you hold into that kind of bound you, that you
right.
in order to be okay with being multifaceted. We already went over how do you feel about yourself. Has there been anything good or bad that somebody has said to you that you may have held on to or internalized? In an argument, somebody told me, you always play victim. And
in our argument.
Maybe one of our arguments. But the reason why that actually stuck with me on a deeper level, because things that resonate with us and they become a problem is because of the way that we feel about what the person said. It's not that what the person said is bad, maybe the truth, maybe it is not. But why would I internalize in an argument somebody saying, you play victim? And I realized for a long time in my life, because of certain things that transpired in my life, that I did have a victim mentality, because whether or not I'm allowing something to happen, if I do not truly agree with it and I don't speak up or say something about it, I'm putting myself in a victim state. So my yes needs to be yes and my no needs to be no. I can't do anything for anybody and then if they don't do what I expect in return, play victim. So it really was like it was kind of like a shock, like a wake-up call, like, wait, you are making this choice to do the things that you doing. Like, okay, yes, I want to be a helpful person because I am compassionate and I do see the need that others have. But if I'm making this choice and I expect somebody else to do the same in return to me, and then it's not coming from a genuine place. Now I need to actually do the things that I want to do, and that won't put me in a good state.
Well, lately, when I look in the mirror, I have to do some positive affirmations. And a lot of that is because of my past experience after I had Honesty. Her dad talked about my body so bad, and I internalized that. And I took, for a long time, I thought that it was nasty, or it was old, or it was ugly, because it wasn't my teenage body, because I had her at 18. It wasn't that body. It was a more mature body, a post-baby body. And I went as far as to have surgery because of that, because I was afraid no one was going to like me. Right. And now I'm in a completely different phase of life, but those feelings still reemerge. Like when I got pregnant with this one crying. When I got pregnant with Sage, I immediately went to, oh my God, my body's gonna be destroyed again. My husband's not gonna like it. I'm gonna have a wrinkled stomach, instead of looking at what I was creating, like a whole human. And it's beautiful just in itself. From being able to carry life, I looked at it like, oh my God. I looked at it like, oh my God, how is he gonna look at me now? You know, is he gonna be turned off? Is he still gonna want me? Is he gonna cheat on me because I don't look the same? So I had to work through a lot of those fears of just my physical self, instead of looking at myself as a whole person and like a mom.
It sounds like you got to a place of acceptance, and this is what this thing is as well. Because if you can accept the fact that, okay, I have these insecurities, I know that I have them. Now I can work on them. I can take the steps that I need to take in order to accept this about myself, and then make that I need to. What about you guys?
People have said that stuck with me is people used to tell me I was annoying. So I started to feel like I couldn't be myself in front of people. And it was something so small. So, I mean, I guess not, since I've been struggling with it, but I never thought something like that could affect me. Like who cares if they think I'm annoying? But apparently it did. So, I've had guys tell me I'm too dark to date before. And then I've had people tell me that I'm mean or standoffish and that I only think about myself. I think I've grown a lot. Like, I feel like I can be myself more now. Like, I've gotten way better than what I used to be like. And then I don't feel any type of, I love my skin. Like, regardless.
As you should.
I don't have that problem anymore.
Basically, the point of these questions are for you to identify things that hold true to you. If something bothers you, I want to say that there's some kind of truth in it. If it's something that somebody says to you that you're able to internalize, it might not actually be truth, but there's a reason why you why you felt bothered by what was said, and ultimately normally causes you to go back and think about, why did this person say this? Why do I feel this certain way, or whatever?
Mental. I've had people tell me that I'm like stuck up and stuff like that, and to me it's like, I see myself as a down to earth person. I feel like I'm really cool or whatever. And that was like when I was younger. Now I feel different.
Okay.
But you know, I always was feeling like, dang, like the world really gotta be such a weird place. You know what I'm saying? You kind of feel misplaced from everybody being, and it's like people don't really know you at all, and then it's weird how they can just try to label you.
Well, here's the thing: you gotta understand that people have their own perception too. It's like I'm gonna use a small saying where they, you know, somebody will say, "Oh, well, you think you all that." You can say, "Well, no, you think I'm all that," because that's the thought that comes across your mind when you see me. Because remember, it's their eyes that they that they see through. And sometimes people will try to impose that on you. Even when we were talking about being selfish, that could come because somebody expected you to do something that they've done for you or in return. But it's all walking like a thin line, if that makes sense.
I feel like I internalized a lot of stuff, especially even when I was young. Like, I know the first time I internalized something like and really stuck with me, probably like I was like in 5th grade. It was like 5th grade. Like people used to call me fat all the time. That really stuck with me. And even now I find myself like looking there like, am I getting a little, like, am I going backwards? Like, am I looking big? Like, even sometimes when I eat too much, like I'll be like, looking around like, oh shoot, like it's like I blow up right then and there. Like, it's like a really warped perception type thing. I eventually, like, I feel like I don't really care as much right now. Like, I'm also still learning to like love myself. Even if I was getting a little heavy, like I'm still have to like learn to love myself through every process. So it's like whatever. And another thing like that I internalized a lot was like at school, always being like kind of isolated from other people for one, and for two is like in 6th grade, like people used to call me like emo and scary looking. Like people used to think I was like a spawn of Satan or something. I feel like I definitely internalized that because even when I'm around people, like I'm like, when people like don't treat me weird and treat me like an actual human being, I'm like, I'd be surprised. I'm like, so you not scared of me? Like I'd be literally thinking in my head like, so you don't think I'm weird or anything like that. Like I actually get surprised. And when it comes to like dudes too, like one dude was like, it's not that you're ugly, it's just you're not something I would prefer or that anyone would prefer. Like that stuck with me. I just be feeling like undesirable to Black men specifically, like because I feel like they think I'm just weird or something like that. Like I don't think I'm ugly. Like I really think that, you know, I'm fine, but at the same time, it feels like, you know, they're like scared of me or something. To me, like all of this stuff that I be wearing is just clothes. Like that's not actually who I am as a person. Like it's not that serious to me.
Do you feel like the more accepting you become of yourself, are you able to mingle among different type of people now? Like, because I heard you say like when somebody actually addresses you like, okay, like you totally normal, which I mean, you are normal. That sounds kind of crazy, but you know, just from what you were saying,
yeah,
people approach you and treat you like a human, basically, that it surprises you. Is the energy you're carrying, is it different at that time because you're more comfortable with like, hey, this is me. I don't really give a fuck what y'all think about how I feel. I'm gonna come in and just be myself.
Me, like, when I was saying, I figured out like why it really hurt me when the guy called me manly and everything. It's because I already have like a really strong demeanor. Like I'm like a really strong, like, you know, person just in general, like mentally, physically, and spiritually. So it's like I have like a big
energy.
Yeah, well, not even energy, like just demeanor. Like yeah, it's like more aggressive, and you know,
it comes off as aggression. I feel like I think that especially for Black women, that we always get kind of put into that label of
right
as aggressive, and this ultimately, I want it to end up being something to where we can remove those labels about ourselves.
I was saying in regards to me, like to people telling me that I'm selfish.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, well, I'm just gonna bring it up. There was a point in time where they cut me off for a year, and so I had learned to really be on my own, kind of. So when we start back talking, it was hard to adjust. And like, I started realizing it's hard to like, cause I felt so much, it was easier alone cause you don't have to work with other people and like deal with how they're feeling and stuff like that. So it was kind of a hard process for me to I just found out that relationships is hard work.
It is.
I'm the type of person where when I started getting back in a relationship with them, I started questioning everything that I believed in, which isn't good. So I was like, and I'm always the type of person that like, what am I doing wrong? Because So it kind of went too far though, because I was kind of like, I listen to so many people like all the time, so I just start getting confused. Whether it be motivational speakers or like my parents, I listen to everybody and I try to keep an open mind, but it kind of shakes my own beliefs. So I was at the point where it's like, I don't know what to believe. And I guess when you think about it, all them people, they have their own beliefs. Yeah. So I feel like I just don't listen to myself, kind of.
You took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. A lot of times when we do take on what other people say, it loses the ability to listen to ourselves. So now we're going to where am I from? To me, this question, as I was saying before, I feel like it's one of the deepest questions, because the goal of it is, for me, is to make you find your roots in the source of why you move the way that you move.
Right.
So I would say that for me, starting off, I grew up in a lot of what people may consider dysfunction. I lived with a lot of different family members. Sometimes people were not family that I had to stay with, on and off, and I would hear a lot of different things. I would hear things like, well, there's extra mouths to feed, you know what I'm saying? Or your mom is not here, or this kind of thing, because of the things that she was out in the streets doing. And I felt like my aunties or certain people that I lived with at the time would treat us as if we were burdened, like we were weight on them. And one thing I never realized is, because of that, I always wanted to put myself in a position where I didn't have to rely on anybody else. So it became more of an ego thing, even though it was something good, like, okay, yes, it's good for you to be independent and be able to help yourself. But when it came to me needing help from somebody else and feeling comfortable asking for that help, or I felt like if I do this, then I'm a burden on them. So that was something that I took with me in my relationships as well, which it came with a lot of pride. You know what I'm saying? We all need help, and it's okay to need help at times, but I never wanted to be that person that had to pick up the phone and call somebody to help me. But then I knew how it felt to need help as well, so I was the person that would take on everything, and I would begin to like burden myself, trying not to be a burden on somebody else. And with that mixed with knowing that people need help, I would constantly take on a lot. And then even when somebody would do something for me, I would start watching how they would move, and I would be feeling like, oh, they really don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying? And it would make me uncomfortable, and my interactions would be like that with the people, even when it come to like my spouse and different things like that, doing something for me. When they would do it, I ultimately would start feeling this feeling like, okay, something ain't right. They really don't like what they want to do. And that's how I would begin to treat that person, whether or not they were feeling that way, as well, as if I was a problem. So I would start to like detach myself and pull away, because I didn't want to be that one thing. I also seen a lot of people that were stagnant. And I never wanted to be that way. I never wanted to be stuck in the same position that I was the year before. And then also me moving around a lot. And I never really got like structure or a kind of foundation. So in my adult years, that was something that was consistent in my struggle, even though I managed to like work and, you know, I kept a full-time job. I always kept apartment, a place to stay like that. When it came to like scheduling things and having structure or some type of discipline, I just did whatever the fuck I wanted to do. Now I know that discipline is also a form of self-love, and that's how you get a lot of things done. We have to be disciplined in some areas, but because I lacked that discipline, I wasn't able, it was something that I had to learn.